On to the first application, blockchain in cross-border payments. To understand how cross-border payments work, let's have a recap on our previous lecture. Actually, previous module. Back to Alexa and Bill. If Alexa wanted to send $10 to Bill, who has an account in another bank, she'll first go to her bank and make a transfer. However, we saw that there's no trust between financial institutions. Therefore, a central bank is introduced to facilitate the transaction from Alexa's bank, that's Bank A, to Bill's bank, that's the second bank, Bank B. Finally, for Bill to receive the money, he has to get it from his bank. However, with blockchain's peer-to-peer protocols, Alexa can send the money directly to Bill without the need for financial intermediaries. Blockchains are used to eliminate intermediation when it comes to banking transactions. Some real-world examples of blockchain protocols that allow for monetary exchange include Bitcoin, as we discussed in the previous lecture. Another well-known example is Litecoin. And there's tons of blockchain solutions that allow for peer-to-peer monetary exchanges. In the international scene, we saw that there's an influx of intermediaries. The value chain is longer in global monetary transfers. Money moves from the sender to the sender's bank to the sender's country central bank. Since there's still no trust between central banks, a large bank operational in the sender's and receiver's countries is introduced. Then the money moves to the second central bank, then to the receiver's bank, before finally getting to the receiver. You can clearly see how long the intermediary chain is, and we all know the more the intermediaries, the higher the transaction cost. Think about how many times you have transactional fees. You have to incur transactional fees. Of course, blockchain protocols like Bitcoin and Litecoin can be used to link the sender directly to the receiver. However, banks also suffer the cost of intermediation as they sustain some of the transactional costs. Therefore, blockchains can be used to link the sender's bank directly to the receiver's bank. Yes, while blockchains can be used to directly link the sender to the receiver, blockchains also reduce intermediation for banks. The sender's bank can avoid the long chain of intermediaries and connect directly to the receiver's bank to improve both the speed of transactions and ultimately reduce the cost of a transaction. A lot of banks are currently either researching blockchain solutions for their operations or currently deploying or exploring some institution-to-institution blockchain solutions. However, currently, one of the most common solutions to interbank transfers has been the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, also known as SWIFT. SWIFT is a financial messaging network that allows banks to connect with each other, mostly for global transfers. Note that SWIFT is a secure messaging platform and does not handle any money or manage accounts. Banks send messages between each other, therefore the sender's account can be debited and the receiver's account credited faster while avoiding long chain intermediaries. The financial messages are stored and banks can settle with each other after a number of transactions. The secure messaging system allows for interbank financial communication, thus avoiding long chain intermediaries. However, some of the limitations are 1. Costs. SWIFT does not come cheap for banks, and the cost of SWIFT transfers is reflected on transactional charges that we consumers incur. 2. The speed of transactions is still a limitation, as human intervention is still needed to complete transactions. Human intervention is needed to make the transfer, then the intervention is also required when debiting and crediting accounts because these are done manually. Another current solution that we will not learn in this course, but you should definitely explore or read about is SEPA, the Single Euro Payment Area. This is only operational in Europe. Essentially, it integrates all EU economies to work as if they are in one country. This means that there's only one central bank across the continent. Therefore, international transfers will be as simple as domestic transfers, where there's just one central bank as an intermediary between banks. One common solution applying blockchain is repo. Repo is an interbank blockchain solution. Repo allows for peer-to-peer transactions between its banking clients through its blockchain network. Transactions are made using its native cryptocurrencies referred to as XRP. While Ripple has been a big player, very key player in improving interbank transfers using blockchains, it has not come without criticism. The main aspect of blockchain is decentralization. However, Ripple owns all nodes validating transactions. Therefore, if I own all nodes in my network, then aren't I a centralized solution as I am the only one in charge of the network? Yes, the biggest criticism of Ripple is that it is rather centralized. Nevertheless, it is not short of investors or banking clients. There are also other blockchain solutions solving for interbank transfers. Another good option is the Interbank Information Network built on JP Morgan's Quorum blockchain network. They have already started a pilot and JP Morgan is well sorted with clients. We'll wait to see how much of this penetrates the banking market. However, we as consumers might really not see it as these will be solutions for banks and financial institutions. Hopefully, just hopefully, we'll see improved efficiency and probably reduced cost when it comes to cross-border payments. So, what are the advantages of blockchains in cross-border payments? 1. Reduced cost. Intermediation comes at a significant cost. Every intermediary charges a transaction fee. Solutions such as SWIFT are still expensive for banks and cost a pass to consumers. Through blockchain, financial institutions and consumers can avoid the expensive cost of intermediation. 2. Faster transactions. Blockchains offer a near real-time transfer rate as compared to intermediation that may take 2 to 5 days. By reducing the number of intermediaries and automating financial transactions, and by reducing the tons of human intervention needed in intermediary transfers or solutions such as SWIFT, blockchains make transactions faster and more efficient. 3. And lastly, higher security. The SWIFT network has been susceptible to network attacks, leading to loss of billions. Most of these cases do not make the news, as financial institutions struggle to make sure they can be trusted, and they always find cybersecurity solutions to avoid such hacks. However, blockchains do not have a single point of failure, and decentralization makes it hard for malicious actors to hack or try to manipulate transactional records. Blockchain's immutability also provides more assured security for monetary transactions of any size. So, what is the limitation of blockchain when it comes to payment? The banking system offers the security of reversing transactions if someone accidentally sends money to the wrong account, or if one wants to cancel an initially made monetary transaction. Unfortunately, blockchains are immutable. Yes, unfortunately, blockchains are immutable. Therefore, transactions on blockchain networks are irreversible. This means extra attention needs to be paid before making any transaction. And that's just the biggest limitation of blockchain in payments, despite the vast advantages it would speak in the industry.